So, good morning from Travel Daily's Inspiring Women in Travel Asia. This is Caroline Tapkin, and I'm joined today by Captain Zeph, who is in Malaysia. So, good afternoon, Captain Zeph. Thank you for joining us today. And why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, my name is Zephina. I've been a commercial pilot for the last 16 years in a local airline in Malaysia. My journey has been basically from zero to hero for me, how I would describe it. I started off from the arts background, and I got myself to enroll myself in a totally different background, which is flying. I have two elder brothers who are also flying. My dad used to be a police pilot, which he retired. So my journey as a pilot, I started off as a co-pilot. So I had the 1 bar and then the 2 bar and then the 3 bar. And eventually after 8 years, I got myself to be equipped as a commander. So we had to go through the whole exam, the requirement of all the interviews and the checks in the simulators. And here I am after 16 years.
Well, congratulations. But hang on a minute. You said you're originally arts background.
Yes, that's right.
So what on earth, how did you make that transition?
It's quite interesting because I've always been very intrigued by something, how do I call it? I always like challenge. I don't like to be given something that, okay, you do this and I can do it. I like to find something that I find, this is very impossible, but I'm going to try. Because that has always been my character. I cannot do something, I will find my means and my ways to get into it. So when I was in school, I've always wanted to be someone successful. Like initially I wanted to be a doctor, but when I went back to school and I got all the signatures to get into university, and the teacher was like, come on, let's be realistic, because in school I was so naughty. I didn't do any like homework. Teachers were like having problems with me because I never was interested in school. But I remember what my teacher said, and she said to me, come on, let's be realistic. Those words were burning in me, and I told myself, I'm going to prove not only to the world, but I'm going to prove to myself that I can be somebody. So at the point when I was in university for a year, my brother was already in flying school, and I just looked through his notes, and I find it so puzzling, because I'm like, what is this? This is so interesting. You got the calculations, the tangent, the square feet and all this. I'm like, oh my God, this is so interesting. I need to get into it. So that was how I initially picked up my interest in flying, but I didn't really fall in love in flying until I actually get into the real aircraft during flying days and training days, that I absolutely fall in love with it.
That's very interesting, because you were not really a good student in school.
No.
You didn't get the fire and the drive until later.
Yeah, I never was interested in school. For me, it didn't really relate to me what we were learning in school, and I felt like, I don't know what am I doing. So I didn't know the point of doing it. So that's why there was no drive in it. But the moment I got out of school and I tell myself, what am I going to do? I need to do something. I want to be somebody. Just so happened my brother was in flying school, so I kind of hopped on the journey together with him, and eventually find out that I actually love this thing, and maybe it's in the family, and maybe it's in the blood.
What age were you when you started that?
Sorry?
What age were you when you started flying?
I started flying. Okay, I started flying with the company when I was 21, when I got my job. So 2 years before that, 19, I was already in flying school. 17 to 18, I was in university for a year. Mm-hmm. Even then, I was so rebellious. I used to park my car in the principal's location. I did all kinds of things when I was young. I was absolutely naughty. I was absolutely rebellious. I just like drive. I just like something that increases my adrenaline. So
if you're not challenged and there's no meaning to it, you don't get anywhere.
Yes, that's me.
I mean, that gives parents and kids hope that if they weren't successful in school, they can still achieve something monumentous if they
Absolutely.
have to drive afterwards.
Absolutely.
So
For
how,
me,
how difficult was it to get into flying school?
well, basically, because I was from the arts background, they just gave me an exam and they told me 75 was my passing mark. And they say, if you're not successful in this, you cannot proceed with the, the whole course. So I went back, I was studying, I was going through this principle, that principle, the Bernoulli's theorem, all kinds of things I was trying to understand. And that time there was, YouTube was not really a sensation. I didn't really know where to get the information from, but I just went through books. I was discussing with my dad, I was discussing with my brothers, and eventually I just went for it and I got 76. So I was like, woo, this is meant for me.
How long did you have to study?
Sorry?
How long did they give you to study that?
They only gave me like 3 days.
3 days?
Yes, they told me, do it or too bad. You can't do it.
So from a non-physics background, you passed the exam in 3 days?
Yes.
Wow, that takes dedication.
Yeah, yeah.
So
actually, physics for me, I mean, at that point, it made a lot of sense. So maybe that's why it kind of helped me a lot. Unless you gave me something that like, add maths or something, I'm like, oh my God, I really need to look into this. But I guess the physics aspect of flying makes a lot of sense, even in our everyday life. So it was easy to absorb because I like to make sense of things.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So once you passed the exam, what was the next step?
The next step was to get through private pilot license. So basically you have to go through several papers, and then they will take you to flying. So flying would have to be completed for 45 hours on a single engine aircraft. That will be with the instructor, and then you'll be given like solo flights, and then you have to, fly on your own, sometimes during daytime, sometimes during nighttime. Once you completed that, then the next step will be commercial pilot license, which you have to go through the exam as well. And the flying will be 165 hours of flying. Same with the instructor or alone, you gotta like accumulate your flying hours. After which that is completed, then we go to ATPL, which is Airline Transport Pilot License. So we have 6 papers that is from the UK. And it is so, for us, it's really difficult, not because of the English or whatever, but the questions are really difficult. And your passing mark is always 75. And you have 6, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 6 papers at that time. And we had to get through every single subject, basically with flying colors. And then you have to get through 35 hours of twin engine, whereby you fly two engine aircraft, and then you go through the exams, and then they will, you have to get access. I mean, you will be assessed, and then you will get, your certificate. That's when you have your commercial pilot license with frozen airline transport pilot license. With that, you can apply for a job in wherever you're local at. Then the journey begins. Yeah.
But you obviously passed all of that. How many women, how many girls were there with you?
With me, during my batchmate, there was one lady, there was one girl with me. We were all private students. So the cadets, they were like, I think about 2 girls at that time. And two private batches before me, there were 3 girls. So I think there's only about like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us. That's it at that time.
At that time. And has that changed very much now?
Yes. I to be honest, I made a visit to the Malaysian Flying Academy, and I was amazed. I was walking around along the pathway, and I kept on looking at girls like walking. We're like, wow, that is so nice to see that, the girls are actually in, not as, not like how it used to be last time. It's very rare to see, like, when they see girls like, oh, girl, female pilot, like, are you sure? Are you sure?
How challenging was it for you?
I would say it was pretty challenging because like I said, I came from a very different background. So it took me 2 times more the effort to make sense of the subjects that we were studying. So I had to dig deeper. I had to memorize a few things. I had to understand more. Some of the things didn't really make sense to me, but it was pretty challenging in flying school, yes. Because the passing mark is so high, 75. That is just a passing mark. That's not even an A. So I would come back from flying school because our classes would be like from 9 to 5 every day, Monday to Friday. So immediately after I come back, I will take a shower, I will do my prayers, and I will just study until like 10 o'clock. And then I hit the bed. Every day is a repeat like that.
That takes dedication.
Determination. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
Where did you get your strength from to do all of that?
To be honest, I would say it was my own drive to become somebody. It was my own drive to be able to assist my family members. It was my own drive to feel what it feels like to have more monetary freedom, Not to say that, we were suffering, monetary-wise. We were okay, but I wanted to feel more of it. I wanted to know what it feels like to be ease, to have the freedom. So my drive was always, I want to make better of my life. I want to get somewhere because I want to improve the state of my life. So just so happened, flying clicked, thankfully.
Who inspired you along the way?
Along the way, I would say my brother, because he was the one who first started flying. He gave me the hope that if he can do it, I can do it. I did not see it as he's a guy, I'm a girl, that means I'm less capable. For me, it's like, he can do it. I can definitely take up the challenge. So he initially inspired me to push myself. But it was my dad's character, my dad's discipline, my dad's mentality that got me to maintain my path in this journey. Because my dad is really, really disciplined. And sometimes he would talk to me and he would tell me, things like, what is the problem? Put your mind to it. Whatever you want to achieve, you can. Put your mind to it. Work hard. You don't want to be like the people out there who don't work hard, who end up, at the age of 30 years old, being nothing, having nothing in your life. You're going to look back, you're going to be like, what did you do with your time? Think. He's always telling me, think. Make good use of your time. He's very tough on me, so he treats me like I'm his son, Even my mom, she treats me like that. Like sometimes I feel like, Mom, I'm your daughter. Can you stop? I'm not your son, I know you have like 2 sons, but I'm your daughter. And then they go like, oh, okay, because I'm always the one who's handling the family affairs. I'm always the one who's like managing the stuff in the house. So sometimes they forget, like, I'm a girl, I have emotion. My emotions are different from my brothers. You guys got to cool down a little bit, but they are really tough on me in a good way. They push me. They forget that I'm a girl. So that is how I become driven. I have a strong personality because of that. Because they don't treat me like, oh, you're a girl, I'm gonna like love you. No, they go like, do it, if you want something, go get it. I'm not gonna sit down here and like, oh, how are you feeling, your emotion? No. Forget all that. You're not gonna get all that things, Which for me, if you want it, you have decided that you want to do it. That's it.
Get on with it.
Yeah, get on with it.
What's the hardest thing you've had to face?
Hardest thing I've had to face, basically, during the transition of being from a co-pilot to become a captain, it wasn't easy. We had to go through so many interviews. I didn't make through the first interview. It was, quite tough because the questions that they were asking was a little bit challenging for me. So, and then, eventually I got through the interview, and then it was the simulator, and then the training, the checks, the exams, and then the whole line training during flying. So that was pretty challenging for me throughout the career. But after a while, like even after the training stopped with the instructors, now I'm on my own. as a captain, flying with a co-pilot who is supposedly less experienced than me. So it's my responsibility. I have to make the call. I have to be responsible for my decisions. This is when I learn. This is actually when I train myself and teach myself indirectly. So after a while, I developed, my mental strength in that way. And I learned to work my way around safety aspect. Like, for example, if they want something at this particular margin, I make sure I give myself room so that I can manage any situation whereby if something that happens out of my hands, I'm able to think and execute, something that can come back with it. So yeah, that's my
how do you find working with the other male pilots, and is it an accepting environment?
Well, to be honest, initially, when I flew, when we just got into the company, it wasn't very easy because they were not used to flying with female pilots. Sometimes they would get really excited, like, oh my God, she's a female pilot. But sometimes they'd be like, I see ladies as either my wife or my daughter or my sister. I don't see them as a colleague. So I guess it took a lot of adjustment for the whole community to move into that direction. But to be honest, where I am today, it really doesn't make a difference because, you've been long in the industry. Everybody knows who you are. You've made your name, and people, the generation these days, they really don't care. Whether you're a guy, you're a girl, you can do the job, kudos on you, So it's not much of a problem now, but those times, yeah.
Yes, sure. Yeah. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Ever received? Well, to be honest, I'm not so much of someone who talks to people for advice, but I always, for me, my strongest, the strongest thing that I have is my connection with my prayers. So I believe that along the way, I get a lot of advice and guidance through my prayers. That is the one thing that I hold on to, that kept me going even when I feel like I want to quit, because I've always had that connection. See, when you have a connection with something that is stronger, that is more powerful, you don't lose faith. And sometimes things open up for you in ways that you can never imagine, and ease opens up for you in ways that you can never imagine. But it comes with, you need to work for it, then it comes. You cannot just sit back, relax, enjoy the rest of the flight and expect everything to just go your way. So I've always, like I said, my family is very tough. We don't really have these conversations whereby we sit down and talk about things and stuff. So it's always me who advise myself. It's always me who evaluate, take a step back and think, how can I handle this? What can I do to improve myself? This and that. And sometimes I will get answers through my prayers, through dreams, through talking to people. So yeah, I believe the best advice that you can receive is the advice that you can give yourself, because you know yourself and you trust yourself and you know where you are at. Sometimes people can say a lot of things like, do this, do that, this is how you go about, this is how you, but it doesn't sometimes jive with what you're feeling. That's what I feel. So yeah, the best advice is your own advice. Talk to yourself, spend time listening and asking, what do you want in your life?
That's great advice. If there's anything you could have changed in your journey there, what would it be?
Nothing.
Nothing you would have done differently?
No, everything in my journey has made me who I am today. If it is not for the backlash, the scolding the instructors given, the hard times that some of the pilots, sometimes you have problems, or, the simulator exams, the whole, I was actually posted in Jeddah for 1 year. We were doing charter flights for Saudi Airlines. At that time, it was so tough to get by. But when I think about it now, I'm like, thank God, because I gained so much of experience in that span. So I would not change anything, because everything that you are today is because of what has happened in the past. So if you can conclusively take it in a positive way, then you can safely say that there's nothing you want to change. The journey was meant for you to be who you are, and I accept it, and I became the best version of who I am. So yeah.
Yeah, the ability to learn from your experiences and to treat it all as a learning curve is a fantastic strength to have.
Yeah, that's right.
So what's in the future for you?
Well, I have no idea. The COVID has really changed our mindset and mentality. We were on, we didn't really fly for 2 years. And I was on furlough for a good 5 months before I got back to flying. So that time that was given to us, we had, basically before furlough, we were flying, nonstop, on, off. And we didn't really have much time to think about life, think about things, think about what we're feeling, think about who we are. So in that 2 years span, I really thought about, having to live life, having to enjoy, the time that I have. So I really don't know. For me, it's like, okay, maybe, I want to fly for a couple more years. Maybe I would say 5 to 10. And then maybe I will, venture out something different. I don't know what it is yet, to be honest, because I feel like there's nothing else I can do in this world but flying. But, it's always, for me right now, this is my passion. So I would just go with the flow, get on with it, and utilize my skill for as long as I can.
And if you have your eyes open, something will always present itself at the time it's supposed to.
That is so true. Sometimes you look for something and it's not there. Sometimes it just presents itself. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what aircraft are you flying now?
Right. Sorry?
Was it difficult to get back into flying after being furloughed and everything?
To be honest, after being furloughed, I was scared. I had fear in me, like as though it was the first time that I started flying. Because when I was in furlough, everyone went through a different feeling. We were at the lowest point of our life. Some pilots really had the opportunity to start business. Good on them. But some pilots like me, I didn't know what to do. I was actually sad, looking at myself, wondering, is that it? Like, I've always been driven, but what happened to me now? I have no clue whatsoever. So when I came back to flying, I was a little bit vulnerable because I felt like, can I do this? Can I do that? I lost faith I didn't even know who I was, even at one point, like, who am I? Because without flying, I'm nothing. And I'm on furlough now. What's going to happen in the future with this COVID and stuff is so uncertain. So it was quite frightening for me for a month, but I pushed through. And it's been, I would say, about 6 months since we come out of furlough, and today feels like normal again. Everything is okay.
Fantastic. It's been a very difficult 2 years for many people, hasn't it? For so many different reasons.
You're right.
Yes, I can totally understand where you're coming from. So what are you flying now? Right
now, I'm flying the Airbus 320. It fills up for 180 passengers at one time. So yeah, we fly around the Asian region. We go up to 4 hours 30 max. We also go to Indonesia, China, Bangladesh, India, to name a few. But we haven't started international flights as of yet. The borders are set to be reopened in 1st of April. But there are still some countries that are not opening their borders. So I guess it's going to just be a slow start. But at least there is something,
Yes. And there's a huge demand from people to travel again. So once it all opens up, I think you'll be very busy.
Yeah, I'll be very busy. Yep, you're right.
So as we wrap up here, what advice would you give to girls, particularly girls, in school or coming out of school and not sure of what they want to do or where they want to go? What sort of advice would you give to them?
I would say, first and foremost, ask yourself what you're passionate about. Sometimes you don't know what you want to do. So if you are passionate about something, try to look into that direction and see what jobs that you can find that can bring you success. And success doesn't necessarily mean monetary wise. It's also happiness, because the world has changed. These days, people even want to be YouTube stars. Things that I never heard back, when I was doing my course. So for me, the advice would be, whatever you want to do, put your mind to it. Never take no for an answer. Never listen to people saying this and that about you. If you believe it, just go for it. Block your ears to the world and just focus and just hit on. For me, that is the only advice, because you can achieve anything you want in this world. It's just a matter of whether you want to put your mind to it or not, whether you want it bad or not. So that's my only advice.
And it's never too late.
Sorry?
And it's never too late.
It's never too late. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to learn, unlearn, relearn, everything. I was, like I said, in school, I was so naughty. I didn't even, teachers would have a problem with me. But look at where I am today. So exactly. It really boils down to what you want in your life. Ask yourself, what do you want in your life? So you will get it.
I think that's fantastic. And you're a fantastic example of how you can turn things around and how high you can go.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. That really is an inspirational story and a trailblazer.
Yeah, it is.
So
thank you so much for interviewing me.
Thank you, and best of luck with whatever comes next for you in your life.
Thank you so much.